Alright there geezers, Jules here for FGS, home of the Future Game Show, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the biggest things since salt and vinegar that isn't the fact that I probably should have ironed my shirt before recording, bait and switch. Now, nobody likes a bait and switch, unless you're an angler with a Nintendo fetish, but what are you doing here? Because I can't think of a time when people would want to be flim-flammed, swindled, or delivered an inferior experience or product over that which they were sold on. However, what we're talking about today are examples of boss battles that turned out to be a bait and switch for bigger, scarier, and altogether tougher bosses. Yay! Yet, because I couldn't pass up a golden opportunity such as this, I've bait and switched to you all as well, because today I'm not alone in this episode, as I'll be joined by the wonderfully talented teammate that is Tom Farthing to deliver some devilishly delightful rug pulls. So let's have a chat today, as I'm Jules, this is Tom, and these are 8 bosses killed by bigger, scarier bosses. Number 8. A xenomorph is replaced by copyright protection. Fur Fighters, Viggo's Revenge. Okay, so as we all know, we recently ticked off a big old box on Jules' childhood wish and dreams list in the form of Space Marine 2 arriving onto the scene and kicking all sorts of ass. So I guess now all I've got to do is remind the world of another forgotten gem that I absolutely adore and needs another polish: Fur Fighters. Now here's the thing, if you've already played this game, I won't need to explain anything more because you'll just be nodding so much and so aggressively to the point of neck injury and just throwing pennies at the screen to make it happen. This game was funny, it was violent, it had a chaotically fun multiplayer element and enough wonky accents to fill a Devonian pub. Damn! It was great and somehow got even better with the Viggo's Revenge reissue for the PS2, which basically smoothed over the graphics, added in new elements and gave us that aforementioned so bad it's so very good voice acting. And it also qualifies for this episode by having a humorous example of one video game boss being shown the door quite literally by another in a fourth wall breaking segment. You see, as the player explores Space Station Mir, they come across a hulking monstrous alien creature that looks like a xenomorph, but only if it was ordered through wish.com. A fact that isn't actually lost on the game itself, as no sooner has it arrived, another door opens and a lawyer known as 31st Century Fox appears to explain that this creature violates all sorts of copyrights. Now, despite arguing against the fact, the alien is booted off the set in rather unceremonious fashion, killed legally for all intents and purposes, and leaves us with a far more terrifying prospect: battling the law itself. Now, I won't lie to you, friends. The battle is far from being a difficult one, but there's no denying that the threat of copyright infringement would sting 1,000 times more than having your chest obliterated by an alien's kind of Viagra mouth. Trust me, the law's scary.
Number 7. An official kebab, Demon Souls. Oh, the fat official. This guy's practically built for trolling you. You see this jolly chunky little man who looks like he should be hawking pies, not hurling flames. He waddles up laughing like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, and you think, this dude, he's gotta be harmless. But surprise, you've just fallen into From Software's classic bait and switch trap. First, he doesn't even give you the satisfaction of a proper face-off most of the time. Nope, he taunts you by waddling close enough, giggling like he's got a secret, and spoiler, he does. Then he scurries off and slams a gate in your face, locking himself and a bunch of his minions on one side and even killing one in the process. What a git. But the pièce de résistance, you finally catch up to him and the cinematic starts just in front of the telltale mist. And it's like, alright, it's just you and me now, buddy. And you're all set for a nice cathartic beatdown to maybe pay him back for all the flames and the gate slams. But the game has other plans. Enter the Penetrator. The real boss saunters in, and just like that, he impales the fat official in one swift, brutal move. All that taunting only for him to be skewered like a kebab right in front of you. From Software pulls a total rug out from underneath you, just as you think you're about to score some revenge. The Penetrator steals the show, turning a goofy encounter into a full-blown nightmare. Fat official more like a big fat distraction. Welcome to Demon Souls.
Number 6. A Mutiny, The Last Story. I tell you what, friends, the Wii, alongside being your nan's favourite video games console, sure does have a vast library of titles to choose from. I mean, it's got over 1,600 games in there, and the quality definitely varies wildly. I mean, but there's always going to be games, therefore, that just pop up on my radar that I've never even heard of. And yes, this is a subtle bit of foreshadowing that my Have You Played These Obscure Wii Games episode is definitely in the works. Now, while doing some research for that episode, I came across this little gem as well, called The Last Story, which some die-hard RPG fans might well know, but for many came and went with about as much impact as a flea's sneeze. Mixing action, tactics and stealth together with fantasy battling and emo poster boy looks, as well as melancholic delivery, is basically all I asked for in my RPGs. So I instantly fell in love with everything The Last Story had to offer, especially with all those voiceovers being so incredibly British! Mark, play a clip.
I'm sure there's more trouble waiting for us.
I also love how the game played with expectations and humour throughout, which can be perfectly expressed when the player is led to believe that they're going to be fighting the captain of a Gurak vessel who has led an assault on a friendly city, only for the monologuing captain to be battered into base elements by the very monster he's just summoned. It's such an unexpected moment that one of your party members even goes,
That's supposed to happen.
And undercuts the following boss battles somewhat, as you're likely yourself laughing at how easily the former big bad was just dispatched. Although saying that, the laughter will quickly dissipate as this thing is highly armoured and will kick your ass if you don't understand how to exploit its weak spots.
Number 5. A turtle with a human face for an anus. Contra Shattered Soldier. Contra Shattered Soldier is a bit of a hidden gem, with hoverboards, flying around on missiles, body horror bosses and massive mech battles, with a lovely bit of bait and switch boss battles sprinkled in as well. So there you are, guns blazing through level 1, and you encounter the mech Mr. Helirobo, a mixture of a helicopter and a robot. See what they've done there? So picture this, a futuristic Gundam-esque mech. It's a boss and it looks like it means business. This design screams, this is it, I'm your first big bad, and you gear up thinking, alright Robo, let's dance, and start mentally prepping for whatever bullet hell nightmare is about to come at you. And then, bam! Helirobot gets straight up squashed by a giant gnarly creature called the Slave Beast. And this thing, it is not some sleek mech, it's a monstrous, multi-limbed creature with claws, tentacles, I mean, who even knows? It's just nightmare fuel aesthetic, because in this game, bosses are just apparently appetizers for actual nightmares. Oh, and it gets even better, or worse depending on your stomach tolerance. Just when you think the Slave Beast can't get any more disturbing, once you put enough bullets into it, because of course this thing has phases, it decides to go full nightmare fuel and spins around to reveal, wait for it, a giant humanoid face. A face on a turtle. It's somehow both disturbing and offensive, and then the real attacks begin. This thing has 2 moves, and they're so gross you'll be too distracted dry heaving to actually dodge properly. First, it vomits an arcing stream of noxious bile, a putrid mix of winged insects, worms, and yes, one full soldier per spew. That's right, it just casually expels human bodies mid-bath. The only way to avoid this disgusting spray is to get actually up close to the beast, low and personal, practically hugging the floor. When it's not projectile vomiting, its face spews out an endless swarm of worms and insects, adding insult to literal injury. It's like someone in the development team asked, what if a boss could be both a health hazard and emotionally scarring? Answer, Contra's Slave Beast.
Number 4. Bethany is replaced by everyone. Clive Barker's Undying. Move over, Stephen King. There's a new kid on the horror-themed block with the ability to Garth Marenghi things, and that I'm pretty sure that he's written more horror books than he's read. It's Clive bloody Barker, who across the early 2000s wormed his way into the world of video games to deliver us 2 unforgettable experiences in the form of Clive Barker's Jericho and Clive Barker's Undying. What's that? They actually were very forgettable and thus have ended up on an episode such as this. Oh, quiet you, hush your sweet, sexy, demonic lips, because yes, the action was sometimes ropey enough to hang yourself with. Yes, but there were moments of greatness spread across these 2 games, especially when it came to atmosphere, jump scares, character backstories, and, as was the case with Undying, one of the most ridiculous end sequences I've seen in ages. And I say this because we get a bait and switch boss battle 4 times over in the span of like 15 minutes. You see, things start off as normally as a Clive Baker story can do, with you finally tracking down Bethany, a powerful demonic witch who you've been trying to have some word with for a long time. And those words are, by the way, "Die, demon!" Yet before you get to enact your middle school thespian with this powerful delivery, you yourself are delivered to a different point in time and confronted by your childhood friend Jeremiah, who reveals himself to have been behind the whole demonic plot entirely. Gasp! Yet before egad even lands, it turns to oh god, because he's then quickly beheaded in a cutscene, which then reveals the final boss, which is the Undying King, who has now been summoned, and it was his plan all along. Wait, what's going on here? Oh, who cares, as long as we get to fight this cool ass looking mummy thing. Wait, he's just immediately turned to dust. Cool. Are we done here? Nope! Because now, for some reason, that dust demon gives way to the true eldritch horror that is the real form of the Undying King. Ironically, it took the Undying King a death to show us their true power. Still no matter, because all of this bait and switch has surely made you hungry for battle, and likely anti-nausea pills as well from all of these head-spinning rug pulls. And you know what? The game delivers a climactic battle for the ages right after.
Number 3. You're not a Jedi, you're barely even a Padawan. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Ah, the final boss fight with Trilla in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, where all that, yeah, I got this, energy goes to die. The duel with Trilla, the second sister, is a masterclass in tension and emotional depth. As a former Padawan, Trilla's fall to the dark side is a tragedy, and the weight of this history hangs heavy over the fight. The battle itself is a brutal dance, a clash of force abilities and lightsaber skills. Trilla's relentless pursuit, her taunts, and her desperate attempts to break Cal's spirit create a sense of personal conflict that goes beyond the usual boss battle. So there you are, in a lightsaber duel with Trilla, feeling like the protagonist in your own epic Jedi journey. The music's soaring, the tension's maxed out, and you're thinking, this is it, it's me or it's her. You're fully locked in and laser focused. And then, Darth Vader freaking shows up. Talk about a galactic level bait and switch. You finally managed to get the upper hand on Trilla, thinking that you're about to bring her back to the light, and bam, the room temperature drops 10 degrees, the lights dim, smoke appears from behind her, and you hear the iconic Vader breathing. The game has lulled you into this false sense of security with the emotional weight of fighting Trilla, then promptly smacks you over the head with the reality that, nope, you're not the big dog here. You're a Padawan facing down the Darth Vader. And it's not even a fight. Vader doesn't fight you. He plays with you like a cat battering around a half-dead mouse. It's one of the few moments in Star Wars gaming where you feel genuinely like you're in a horror movie, desperate to escape. The player who has spent hours mastering Cal's skills and outsmarting enemies feeling invincible is suddenly reduced to a mere pawn in the grand game of the Force. The fight against Vader is a brutal and humbling experience, a testament to the sheer power of the Dark Lord of the Sith. By the time you're running for your life, you're just thinking, yeah, I was screwed the second he showed up. It's a brutal, brilliant twist that reminds you exactly who you're dealing with.
Number 2, a summoning gone wrong. Okay, so I've been on a bit of a dungeon-themed kick recently, having just binge-watched all of Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon with my partner on Netflix, and so I was delighted to be able to munch down on another dungeon-themed experience with a saucy side serving of, well, that's what you get for messing with the occult, mate, which took the shape of arcade game Lightbringer or Dungeon Magic, depending on your region. And let me tell you, my friends, this game kicks ass. So much so that it's legit one of my favourite arcade beat-em-ups ever. As here, you've got all of your fantasy elements, the ability to change your equipment based on item drops by enemies and bosses, action around every corner, and to top it all off, a kick-ass final boss fight. However, it's a boss fight that really does come at the expense of the evil wizard that you've been led to believe was the big bad of the entire experience up to this point. As here, after eluding you the entire game and stealing a ton of magical artifacts, the wizard casts a summoning ritual only to be utterly roasted immediately by the demon that he's brought forth. Well, I say immediately. The demon first does his best impression of Moe from The Simpsons with 2 knives, which I gotta say, does look pretty great indeed, and then annihilates the would-be wizard. What then follows is easily the hardest boss battle in the entire game, and because this was back in the arcade heyday, definitely you can read hardest as cheapest and most efficient way of draining you of all of your cash monies. So in short, you better hope your character is stocked up to the nines with magical loot, carrying a shield and wielding that anti-demon sword that you did have one chance to swipe, because otherwise, well, you'll be joining that wizard on the bench pretty shortly.
And at number 1, Punch, No More Heroes. Let's talk about No More Heroes and its chaotic love for bait and switch boss battles. Suda51 is the master of setting up something grand, epic, and maybe a little predictable, only for him to yank on the gaming handbrake and send you spinning off down an unknown storyline alleyway. Firstly, you have Let's Shake, who is just pure vibes. He's built up in the game as one of the top ranked assassins. Your fight is on a wind farm. This dude brings a guitar to the fight, has a brain in a rocket machine thing, and gets so excited he might himself. And he has a Virtual Boy headset. It's all perfect. So there you are, fully amped to slice and dice your way to victory when, surprise, your buddy Henry steps in, slashes Let's Shake and his brain in a box thing to pieces, and you don't even get a swing in. Zero, zilch, nada, there's no fight. And sure, it's a funny, haha, wow, I didn't see that coming, but it's also a straight up tease. Let's Shake could have been an insane boss fight. Instead we get a dead boss and an unfulfilling craving of what that Earthquake Maker's showdown would be. Bummer. In order to make up for it, at least you get the Darkstar fight. He's the literal final boss, the one hyped throughout the game as the #1 ranked assassin. Guy's even got a castle. From the get-go, it's all about Travis Touchdown's journey to Darkstar, to become the top dog, and when you finally meet this dude, he drops the bombshell. He's your father. Yep, Darkstar is going all Vader on us with this dramatic reveal. The whole Star Warsy drama builds for a hot second, and then, bam! Out of nowhere, his crotch explodes and he gets a reverse punch? Is that what a reverse punch is? Anyway, I'm calling it that. He groans, drops down dead, no fight, no family reunion, just a brutal and frankly unnecessary death by groin. But wait, it gets wilder. The crotch leveler turns out to be Jean, who of all people reveals that not only is Darkstar not your dad, but she is actually your half-sister, and she killed your actual parents. It's like finding out that your big birthday cake has razor blades baked into it. So instead of a dramatic lore-packed battle with Darkstar, you're thrust into a completely different revenge plot where the stakes change so fast you're left dizzy. At the end of the day, No More Heroes loves pulling these absurd twists and taking every expectation you have only to squash it like a bug. With Let's Shake, it's a whole lot of build-up with no show. With Darkstar, it's an even bigger investment in a dramatic climactic showdown that turns out to be a lie wrapped in yet another lie. Suda51 sure knows how to troll players, giving us what feels like the ultimate bait and switch.
And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game bosses that were killed by bigger, scarier bosses. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. Massive thank you to Tom as well for helping me out as I recover from my hernia surgery. He is an absolute big ledge, as is Mark, my editor, for putting up with all of my terrible outtakes that I'm sure are populating a folder that will be released around Christmas time in the form of a 2024 blooper reel. It's gonna happen now, I've said it, isn't it? But if you want to chat to me in the meantime, you can do so by following me over on my social medias over here. You can follow Tom on his social medias over here, and you can follow my lovely editor Mark over on his social medias over here as well. But before I go, I just want to talk about one thing. Even though we spoke about big scary bosses coming along and thumping other things into the ground, let's turn that around and shine some positivity right in its ugly face, because we're not going to let big things, big horrible things weigh down on us, because we need to remind ourselves above all else, we are big ledges and we deserve love, happiness and success. We all do as human beings, all right? So don't treat yourself too badly. Speak to people, share your problems to make sure that you don't have what me and Ash Millman once termed as the giant bat of anxiety flying over you. You don't need that in your life, all right? So just be kind to yourself. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, and never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.